Welcome to Out of England. We have had news and great headlines, yes, just ahead of 2014 general election, and then it followed in 2015. We know that the NRI community across the world is very, very active, very proactive, and wants to vote at least in the next general election. But is that going to be possible? And when I ask, is it going to be possible, I mean it, because there are several challenges, and with me is an authority on general elections, not just this process of election, but also the system of it, how it works. Dr. S.Y. Qureshi, thank you very much for joining us on NDTV. With me are a few young people as well who join us. Nagendran began a campaign in 2012. Tell us about your campaign, how far has it come? So there are 10 million people who are eligible to vote. How many have registered so far?
So official estimation is 10 million, so as per Dr. Qureshi's talk today, it could be 6.5 million people who will be eligible to vote. So how does it started? We've started in 2012. The law already existing, but these so-called 10 million people have been deprived because there is no transport system existing in the world which can enable them to travel in a day of election. So we challenged that. So we wanted to have a e-postal ballot. That's where we started. We started with demonstrations, marched in London, then a petition, to Supreme Court. So
Okay. So the online process has just started. So hopefully you'll have more registrations.
Yeah, the registration process they have enabled, which is very great thing. So definitely there will be more registrations.
Dr. Qureshi, the appetite is very huge across NRIs, sometimes even people who are citizens or people of Indian origin, citizens abroad, that they want to cast their vote. What are the challenges, very briefly, if you could put it out?
Let me first question the very first statement you made, that appetite is very high. That's not borne out by facts, because even after a year and a half, Punjab registered only 3 NRI voters. So, which means maybe the demand is loud and vocal, which is very good, but the response has not been commensurate. Despite the fact that we have made it easy, you can register online. Maybe you need to create more awareness, more consciousness, and I'm happy Parvasi Bharat, an organization of very young people, has taken a very active role. You should ensure that you get enrolled, then you'll have a louder voice.
Yes.
So the question is not so much about registration, because registration is already allowed. The problem which we have before us is when they come, they have to come physically to vote.
Yes.
That is the constraint.
This is like cities like Mumbai and Chennai shouting during campaign time, saying we will all come out and vote, but then the voting percentage is 64%.
Yes, that is one. But in any case, the current law which was passed about 5 years ago is that you can register at a place which is mentioned as a permanent address in your passport, and you have to come physically to your home to cast your vote. Now, how many people from across the world will come back home just to vote? That is the issue. They are demanding distance voting, so internet, postal ballot, proxy, or whatever. And the Election Commission recently has recommended 2 systems to Supreme Court. One is the e-postal ballot, which is a via media between older postal ballot. In e-postal ballot, the ballot will come to you by email. It will save some time. You print it and then send it back by post. So let us see how it works. Second is proxy voting, that you authorize anybody to vote on your behalf.
What is the problem with that?
Well, problem with that will be there can be buying and selling of votes. You can just authorize some party candidate to vote on your behalf. So you can imagine. I personally would have preferred that proxy voting, if allowed, it should be confined to some blood relative.
Okay.
So that it cannot be sold.
Yes, that's one solution. Also, postal vote, is there a challenge there as well?
Well, postal vote, the challenge again, there are 2 challenges. One, that even after e-postal ballot, postal ballot having to come back within 13 days may take a long time, because the postal service across the world is not equally good. And secondly, the secrecy is violated, because people will show around, and maybe even the integrity.
Right.
People will take money, show you as a proof that, look, this is the ballot, okay, I'll give it to you, you post it on my behalf. So what we cannot guarantee abroad, that becomes our concern.
Sure. I'm not sure Nagendran will agree to most of these, because the campaign is very strong, very vociferous and gaining momentum. However, one must say that having covered several elections across in India, these are some of the very, this is a very polite account of the kind of fraud that happens from the time of campaigning when it begins in India, because it's just unthinkable, unimaginable, the kind of frauds that can happen, especially in a country like India with the magnitude and the scale of elections that does take place. So it may take some time before NRIs will actually be able to participate in the process, which brings me to the question of whether then their participation will be reduced to social media, will then be a say through a tweet, which is why we have somebody like Vikram who will tell us just what the participation was by NRIs in the space of internet in the 2014 general election.
Yeah, as we've seen in today's discussion, it's been an increasingly amount of young audience who are getting into the voting age bracket now, and there's lots of campaigns for getting new voters registered. And I can see not just NRIs, even young citizens in India getting online, looking at Twitter, Facebook, lots of social media platforms to be able to connect with different political parties, express their views. So we just need to be very timely in reaching out to them, especially adding to Dr. Qureshi's question on reaching out to NRI audiences. Of course, Pravasi Bharat has been knocking on their doors throughout, but at the same time, we can keep that knockout point very timely, and we need to connect with educational institutions in different places like London. For example, I represent the IIM and IIT alumni associations here. People like us who are professional members based in London, US, what we can do is act as voices for people like the Election Commission to reach out to NRIs based in different locations and get them registered on the voting system. Obviously, Twitter, Facebook, all of those come back into the picture. And we can see that digital media is becoming increasingly an important platform for this.
And hopefully it will not be reduced to just a tweet. You will be actually be able to cast your vote as well. But you could be in any part of the UK, but write in your solutions, like he said. You could be young, you could be somebody who's voted several times in India, or maybe never once. But write in your solutions. But before that, the solution man is what you were called during your term as CEC. One practical solution, or perhaps a possibility of speeding up this process and getting this right for the NRIs?
You know, every problem has a solution, but every solution also creates problems. Now, he says that now Twitter is very good and the social media, you reach out to people, no doubt, it works wonder. But there is a downside to it also. For instance, there could be a lot of hate speech. Hate speech is prohibited by law. Now, you can't abuse me in a newspaper or on television channel, but you can abuse me on social media. This cannot be anybody's case. So now how to check it? The moment we talk of regulating it, there is a hue and cry that you are trying to gag the freedom of expression. Now, the freedom of expression is not absolute. You cannot use this freedom to disinform people, to abuse, to vitiate. You cannot indulge in religious propaganda. Therefore, it has to be within a discipline. We have to find a way of disciplining. When the Election Commission talked of regulation, some people said, how will you control? How will you check? It is true, because half of it is anonymous. How do we catch you? But it is very difficult to catch a rapist. It is difficult to catch a murderer. That doesn't mean we don't make it illegal. It is illegal. We have to do our best to catch. So we must always have safeguard, and law and electoral system always is looking at the possibility of misuse and fraud, and we have to ensure that that doesn't happen.
Sure. Thank you very much. The law is always there, but applying it is another thing. Having the law is one thing, but applying it on the streets across is another challenge. Good luck to you in this campaign. I hope you've taken some pointers and trying to perhaps direct the campaign in that very way.